Hi gang, Rob here. It is the evening of 11 February 2020, coming to you this evening with a watch review on this little guy. Yeah, little guy indeed. The Orient Bambino. This particular Bambino, Gen 2 V2. Before we get into the watch, a couple preliminaries. First, let's see what kind of packaging it comes with. It comes in this rather flimsy outer box with a pretty nice inner box. Pillow, international guarantee, instructions. Pretty nice indeed. I think that's a right smart little box. That's about all we need to see of packaging, isn't it? Let's see, what else before we get into the watch? Let's do a wrist check. How about that? That is the Citizen Eco Drive BN 0190 Diver's watch with 200 meters of water resistance on the real Bond strap from Blue Shark. And let's see what's in the pocket tonight. How about that one? That's the TheApostleP customized 940 from Benchmade. And the number 77 Yankee Barlow clip point from Great Eastern Cutlery. And the pièce de résistance, the retractable Fisher Bullet Space Pen. All in the EDC1. Look at that. That needs a review, doesn't it? Okay. Yeah, enough of that, though. Let's talk Bambino. Those of you who are watch aficionados have probably seen review videos of the Bambino ad nauseam. But for those of you who aren't like super dialed into YouTube watch community goings on, I'm making this for you. If you like watches and you're wanting to make a foray into the world of automatic mechanical watches, this might be for you. The Orient Bambino is now in its 5th generation. This is a Gen 2. And the Bambino comes in a variety of dial configurations. This is Gen 2 V2, so version 2 of the Gen 2 Bambinos. It is a dress watch with a super classic face design. The dial is in a very luxurious and almost parchment-like cream. It comes in a decidedly dress watch case. All stainless steel, screw down back. Simple lugs. Plays with the light very nicely. Pretty neat stuff. Before we get into the super specific stuff, just a little bit about Orient, I got to tell you guys, they were not on my radar screen, and my watch collection has not, it hasn't gotten much of my attention the last few years since I've made a career change. I've been immersed in the knife community, and the watch world and I have not been close cousins lately, but I'm sort of getting back into it. When I first saw Orient watches appear in social media and on the internet, I thought, what is this, another junk Chinese brand? I mean, how imaginative is that? Let's make cheapo Chinese watches and call them Orient. Oh, contraire mon frère. I was wrong. Orient, for those of you who don't know, is a Japanese watch company founded, I believe, in 1951 as an independent. At some point, they were purchased by the Seiko Group. They're actually on the other side of the org chart from Seiko Time. Orient Watch is under Epson. believe it or not, in the world of Seiko. So although Seiko watches and Orient watches are cousins in the corporate structure, they really have very little to no connection with each other. And man, do they make some cool stuff. Their specialty is value priced but very nice automatic watches, and that's what we have here. And the Bambino series, kind of an entry-level automatic dress watch. So if you're thinking about, making the transition from quartz to automatic, and you want to see what that's all about, the Bambino could be for you. I personally love this version just because the dial has so much character. Let's get into the specifics. First, let's go over the dial. I'm trying to bring it in for some good macro stuff. You're going to notice, we'll start from the perimeter and work our way in. 2 minute tracks on this watch. The outer minute track is in 1 second or 1 minute increments with no numbering. Then you have an inner minute or second track numbered 1 through 60 with markers for every 1/5 of a second. And not that those are super usable per their graduations. They do just add a depth of character to this watch. The indices or markers on this watch are applied, and notice how they play in the light. When you're looking at it straight on, they almost look black, but then if you get enough angle to make the light hit them, they are clearly a polished silver tone, stainless steel, I would assume. Pet peeve of mine, by the way. They can be called markers. They can be called indices. But if we're gonna sound pretentious and call them indices, let's at least understand this. The word indices is the plural of the word index. So if we're going to talk about one of the indices, it's not an indice, it's an index. Sorry about that, just had to vent. Been watching too many watch reviews on YouTube lately. So applied markers, date window at 3 o'clock with a very subtle but very nicely done bevel. I will say this, for my 54-year-old eyes, date window a little small. Signed just to the left of the 6 o'clock position, Japan movement, and then the reference number. The dial signature, printed Orient automatic with a beautiful applied Orient logo. 2 griffins guarding the Orient crest, just beautiful. And then printed in a cursive font above the 6, water resistant. I love that to keep the dial simple and uncluttered, only the even markers are Roman numerals, the odds are just batons, and then the date window serves as the only marker for the 3 o'clock position. The handset on this watch, absolutely stunning. Chemically blued Dauphine style hands. A plain second hand, and there is the faintest nod to a counterweight just with the taper of the backside of the second hand. The color of the dial, and then the accent colors, the silver markers, the blue hands, the little pop of red, and the Orient logo just make this a classic, a modern classic. The case has a beveled bezel that is polished, and all surfaces on the case are polished except the very perimeter, the vertical surface around the case, and it's just got a fine brush on it. I would have probably preferred that be polished. I'm not sure why they chose one brushed finish. It's not like it's going to make it any less susceptible to marks. Dimensions on the Bambino Gen 2. 40.5 millimeter diameter case, which for a watch of this style, after wearing this for a few weeks, it sounds a little large on paper for a classically styled dress watch. And when I look at it on my wrist, it seems a little large for a classically styled dress watch. Let me give you a little wrist shot here. So here is the Bambino on my 7.25-inch wrist. It kind of dominates, don't you think? I kind of think it does. It's not a dive watch or a sports watch. It's a classically styled dress watch. Kind of my only complaint aesthetically about the Bambino is that it's 2 or 3 millimeters too large. Other than that, it makes me smile every time I look at it. Your lug-to-lug tip dimension, about 46 millimeters. Thickness, very svelte at 11.8 millimeters, which is nice for an automatic, especially with a big old domed mineral crystal. And that will be a sore point for some wearers. Not for me. This is a dressed nice weekender, or even a Sunday morning church dress watch. It's not a watch that I'm gonna wear walking through the woods or chopping wood or working. So I'm gonna be careful of that mineral crystal. But man, could you imagine this watch without the domed crystal? It would ruin the whole aesthetic. And for its price point, which is around $130 US, don't expect sapphire and a hacking, hand-winding automatic movement, right? Speaking of that movement, the difference between the Gen 2 Bambino and the Gen 1 is this upgraded movement. It is an in-house, not a Miyota, an in-house, Orient-made, Japanese-made, automatic mechanical movement that's hand-windable and doesn't feel too bad hand-winding. And it's hackable. Let's see, let's wait for the second hand to get to 12 o'clock. Talk amongst yourselves. And out she comes. Okay. Hackable, of course, for those of you who are watch noobs, means when you pull the crown out to the second position to set the time, the second hand stops. So you can synchronize your watches. And then when we go into first position, we have a quick set date. Does it go backwards? No. So now I'm going to have to reset the whole thing. That's okay. It is an automatic watch. Rotor inside. I don't know if you can hear this, but it is a bit of a noisy rotor. But only if you're doing this. Accuracy of the movement. I don't know what the rating is on them. I've seen reports of guys getting under 10 seconds fast per day. Now, mind you, for instance, a Seiko 6R15, the expensive Seiko automatic movement, is rated at plus 25, minus 15 seconds per day. They're never that bad. This one, frankly, I'm just a little disappointed. It's been running 13 to 15 seconds per day, quick. Not a big deal to me for a watch like this. I don't expect this kind of performance from a ProMaster EcoDrive Quartz Citizen out of a $130 automatic dress watch. And I'm only wearing it 1 or 2 days a week on the weekends. I don't keep it on a winder. I let it go dead. I wind it up and wear it for the weekend. So if it's 12 or 15 seconds a day fast, it's really not a deal. Not a thing. Look at the way the light plays with those hands and markers. Okay, next, strap. And again, guys, $130 watch. It is an Orient signed, genuine leather, crocodile patterned strap, lightly padded, pretty comfortable. The color is kind of chameleon-esque. In some lights, like right now, it looks almost black. But sometimes it looks brown, sometimes it looks cordovan. It's very versatile, as long as you don't mind, super glossy, almost patent leather. I actually have a strap on order for this that I think it is going to suit it better. From Strapsco, I think it's called, Strapco. I'll show you a picture of what's coming. Just that stitched vintage style leather strap. I think that'll look better. I'm not going to throw this away. Well, we're talking about straps. However, something a little odd. The lug width, 21 millimeters. Yeah, notice it says 21. So you can stuff a 22 on it. You can put on a 20 NATO and have a little gappage, but I'm not sure why they did that. Frankly, if they'd have dropped the case size down to 38, the proportions would have been the same with 20 on the lug width, which would have made everybody happier, I'm pretty sure. Let's talk about signatures, shall we? Other than the face or the dial. We have an unsigned crown. We have a pretty nice case back. Of course, the alignment of the screw down isn't really in line with either axis. I mean, this way or this way. It kind of falls where it may. Everything's laser etched, no real engraving on the watch. Again, not a surprise at this price point. One disappointment in that area, though, is the signed Orient buckle. That is very lightly laser etched. The first time this buckle gets polished, that Orient signature will be gone or blurred out. Would it have cost that much more to stamp it so it was polishable to still be visible? I don't know. The lugs have a nice downturn, which does make it comfortable on the wrist. They don't, stick out off the edges of your wrist too bad, even though the large 46 millimeter lug-to-lug dimension. After a couple weeks, all things considered, this is definitely an automatic watch that punches way above its weight class. There are a lot of much more expensive autos, especially from Switzerland, that aren't this nice, don't run this well, and aren't this cool. It just doesn't have any styling issues that are garish or stupid. And some watches do. A lot of watches being made in 2020, especially those that harken back to an era of more stylish watches, do it poorly. I mean, really poorly, Hamilton. And the Orient Bambino seems to get it right. I put it right up there with the reissued Timex Marlin. Whoever thought the Timex Marlin would be a benchmark of style and quality? Well, it is now. And I think the Bambino is right there. I think this one's a keeper. I'm going to see how I like it on that new strap. And we'll go from there. That's all for this one, my friends. Really cool. I am glad to be an Orient customer. Cool company, cool watches. Grace to you and peace, my friends, from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Remember, the word is sharp.